This is Dr. Helen Sue from Hella Mental Health, and let's talk a little bit about Asian Americans, complex trauma and complex PTSD, as well as a few books that might be really helpful if you're interested in learning more about this really complicated, multi-layered, intergenerational topic. Why is PTSD and complex PTSD different for Asian Americans? It's often because we, in our histories of our home countries, have dealt with a lot of major events, major conflicts, massive immigration, things have happened, colonialism, refugees, wars, natural disasters. Simply put, there's a lot of intergenerational trauma that our ancestors have survived, but might be impacting us still. You add on top of that for Asian Americans that there are ongoing potential traumatic events post-migration. The rise of anti-Asian hate, perhaps if you grew up or lived in a place that was actually extremely racist or threatening to you, and various life events. So when we talk about simple PTSD, often clinicians will be talking about like one event, like getting physically assaulted or having a really bad car accident. But complex PTSD is what do you do and how does your mind-body react when the trauma is ongoing, maybe for a really long time, and you never really learn what is safe or not. And that is something that exists in a lot of Asian Americans' family histories, right? Our personal, but also our families. And a couple ways to think about learning more is also that maybe we also cope by hyperfunctioning sometimes, overfunctioning, overachieving, that in trying to escape the symptoms that are uncomfortable, we are often rewarded for playing into the model minority myth and overworking and cutting off from our emotions, because one of the symptoms of CPTSD is often this disassociation, that we feel unreal. We're not even connected to what's happening in our bodies. Our emotions may be cut off. We don't even feel present. And maybe we just dive into work so we don't have to think about anything, or we will just try to focus all our energies there and exhaust ourselves. So that's a very simple roundup, and I will recommend some reading if you're really interested in complex PTSD and Asian Americans in particular. I'm going to start with two memoirs that can really give you a feel. One is They Call This Exceptional by Pratchi Gupta, and really talks about how this played out in her family. And the other is What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu, who actually grew up right around where I'm at in the San Francisco Bay Area in the South Bay. So those are beautifully written examples of people who functioned really well, but whose families were really suffering a lot of impact and didn't really know anything about what kind of help might have been available to help them be healthier. And by writing these memoirs, I think these authors have given us a really big gift in understanding the complexities of how someone can look like they're doing really great on the outside, but might still be grappling with a lot of these complex things that were traumatic as well as intergenerational. And then the two books that I'll bring up that are not memoirs, one is basically hot off the presses, February 2024. And this book is called Where I Belong, Healing Trauma and Embracing Asian American Identity. This is written by two licensed mental health clinicians, Sujin Lee and Linda Yoon. They have founded the Yellow Chair Collective. You can also look them up for more information on Asian American mental health. So that book also really tailors identity, Asian American experiences, and how you can understand trauma and the impacts better for our community in particular. And the next book that I will recommend, but it's not available just yet, it will be out July 2024, is I have written a Healing Trauma Workbook for Asian Americans. That will be published in July, and we'll talk a lot more about that then. But it is also about exploring and understanding the very specific ways that intergenerational factors and current inequities and stressors impact Asian Americans in particular, about how we experience traumatic experiences and how we can integrate culture, healthy identity, and not compromise our values in our healing process, which is not something we always experience in traditional mainstream therapy. So there you have it, a very simple discussion just starting about complex PTSD and Asian American communities in particular, and 4 books if you want to know more about it. So go ahead and give a like and follow if this is of interest to you, and feel free to put in the comments if there's other topics that you're really interested in about mental health and Asian Americans.